Hi everyone, so in this second video on the LR core, I just want to show you some of the additional things I've done to make it more interesting, or to make it more the standard way of deployment. So one of the things that is required is if you delete the application itself, and then if you reinstall it, what will happen? Then you actually realize that you will lose your DB. And to show that in the LR core, you actually see in the config map, you see where it has, you can see here it has the DB, and then this is the path. And this path, if we see from our values.yaml file, we'll see that we're actually using /core/data, right? So that means that if you just use an empty directory, right, this will not be persistent across your installation. So what I did is to actually use like your a PVC. So this PVC, it depends on your Kubernetes cluster. If you are doing this in a cloud, definitely you will not be using the local path, right? So for this, I'm actually using a local path for the directory. I mean for the PVC. So so you would want to use, like I said, if you want to use on the cloud, you can actually make use of the cloud provided persistent storage. So for this, I'm using the local path. So what this does is that, if you are familiar with Kubernetes, is that since I'm using a stateful set, so by default, if you delete this stateful set, it's not going to delete the PVC. So I'm using this just as an example for you to see that even though currently, if you see my installation, you'll see that I don't have any of the LR core running. But if we go into the namespace where I have, which is the telco namespace, and if you do get PVC, you will see that I still have the PVC bound. So what this means is that if I run this installation again and I run the URAN sim based on what I have, so I don't need to reconfigure my URAN sim to reinitiate the connection. So that means that if I do the installation and if I check for this subscriber, I should already have an existing subscriber, because the database is still in the PVC. So what I'll just do is just to do the installation again, and then we'll use K9S to just view what's going on. So we see here that, okay, now the LR core is running. And if we go, okay, so let me refresh, because I just did another installation. So if I log in, and yeah, you see that I already have an existing subscriber, like I said, so I don't need to add the subscriber again. And like I said, if we check the value of the subscriber details, so you can see that the IMSI ends in 282. So let's check for that in our file. So it says 282, right? And then the key, the encryption, the security key ends in 0EA, and the OPC 997. So let's see that. So OEA and 997. So what this means is, if I launch the URAN sim again, then it should work, right? So if I do if I open the shell to the URAN sim, and then I run the gnodb first, then we send this to the background. Okay, so that is done. Then I do the same thing for the UE, right? So we do the now UE. So you see, without uploading the chart again, if you follow me in the previous video, in the first video, you see that when I had a new subscriber, I have to now go ahead to add the to update my helm chart with the key, the OPC, and all the likes. But here you can see that there is no need for that here. So that's one cool thing that you can take note of. Another thing that you can take note of is the API. So I went ahead to like also play around with the API, and I mean it really works almost, I mean, out of the box. But one thing I want to also take note is that I discussed with the developer of LRCore. So before you can only use the TLS configuration that comes with the LRCore. For instance, you see we have like a self-signed TLS keys, right? So I proposed to him that, okay, why not just use what do you call it, to have the feature of using a reverse proxy. So let's me even check for that. Okay. So if you go to the issues, though it's closed now. So yeah, so I said, okay, since we already have TLS it's there, right? So it actually is using TLS enforcement, and it is by default, it is there. You can't disable it. So, but if you want to use a reverse proxy, it would be good if you can offload that to, if you can disable the TLS on the LRCore itself, and then let the reverse proxy or the ingress controller or the gateway controller to handle the TLS termination, right? And fair enough, he was able to accommodate this request, and then the rest is history. So now currently I was able to actually use, if you check the configuration now, you can actually see that I don't have anything that has to do with the TLS here. So but then I actually made use of a ingress controller that is based on Envoy from the solo.io company. So they created a gateway controller that you can use, which is called K gateway. So you could also use your Nginx ingress controller or any other cloud controller for that, right? So, but the key thing here now is that I'm actually making use of my own domain name, and since I'm on my private network, right, I can't really like use the HTTP verification for Let's Encrypt. So what I did is to actually, I have my domain name management on Cloudflare, right? So what I did is, you follow this is an optional part, so you have to choose the part that you are actually using for this. So you grab your Cloudflare token, and then you create a issuer, right? And then once you create the issuer, right? So you can now go ahead to create like the certificate, right? But this domain name, if we check it, is actually linked to a private IP. So what this means is that instead of using the HTTP verification, right, we are using the DNS. So what this entails is that Let's Encrypt will just verify that, okay, you are the owner of this domain name, right? And then the domain name actually it's registered in your Cloudflare, and then you can actually resolve it to an IP. So let's see from here. So if we do a host and then do this, we can see that this is actually going to a private IP, and it's well okay if you do this properly. Even though this is not on the internet, right, you're going to get your valid certificate without any certificate warning in in Chrome. So if you are interested, I can still take you through all that. So like I said, get your Cloudflare token, create the issuer, then create a certificate for that. And then once that's done, then you can now create your gateway. So like I said, I'm using the gateway, and then I'm putting the host name, then the certificate that was created. I'm referring to the secret here. Then this is where we are now taking the route, the HTTP route, back to the header core to send it to the backend, which is running on plain HTTP. So within the cluster, it runs on plain HTTP, and this is one of the most common way of deploying your TLS termination when it comes to having the HTTP endpoint. So with that, if you go to the header core here, you see I already have it here, and then if you click on the details here, you can see that the connection is secured. So you could see the site settings. No, not this. Okay. You see the connection is secure. You can see certificate is valid, and then if we check for the details, you can see that we're actually using Let's Encrypt, and we are also using the domain name. So this is one way of if you want to also have the feel of having a proper TLS termination with valid certificate running in your local environment. So with that said and done, the other part that I wanted to talk about, like I said, is the token, right? Is the API. So header core already exposes a lot of the APIs, right? So, but first of all, in most cases, if you want to do anything on the API, you have to actually get your token. So you get your username and then your password. So if I do this and come to this, I already have my username and password already set. So we already have a token. So if you can see if I'm actually getting a token. So yes, I'm getting a token. So what are the things you can do? You could get a list of like the operator settings, and then you get this. So I'm piping this into JQ for you to see that okay, it's actually matching what you see also when you go to the web interface, right? So if you want to get a list of subscribers, also you can also make use of the beauty of this is that, like I said, this makes it very, very easy for you to integrate with any of your other systems, right? So if you don't want to make use of the web UI, you can also have some of your enterprise system applications, right, to actually interface with the header core via API, and then you can further use that to automate some of the things you are doing. So this is one way you can do this. Another way to use the API would be maybe to also use like the GUI tools, which I will show shortly. Okay, so one of the API softwares you could also make use of, as in the client, is Insomnia. So this is my first time of actually making use of it also, right? So with that also, you have your login set up, right? And then you also set your headers up for the authentication, right? So if we click send, you can see that I'm getting a token as part of the response. So that means I can go ahead to run some other test call. So you can see I have one for the get operator and one for the for subscribers. So yeah, I could just clear the rest so that for you to see. But the beauty of this is that you could actually use the value of the token from here. You can reference it when you come to get operator here. Then if you come to the headers, you can see here that I have the authorization, then I have the bearer. So if you click on this, you can see here that I'm saying that, okay, I want to get the value of the token from the post, which is this login here. So I'll say from the body attribute and the value of the response of which request as the post login. Then I say, okay, I want to get the .result.token, and then it's going to give you the preview of what you will get. So if you don't do this, that means you have to be copying the token from one place to the other for you to make use of it. But since you can, we can just do that. We can just do a send, and then you can actually see that we are getting the same result as we are seeing in our on the CLI. So we do this. If I do a send again, you can see that because we only have one user subscriber. So let's create another subscriber. We can do a generate and also generate the key, and then we do that. So now we have two subscribers. So let's clear the history, and then I run it again. So you can see now that it's showing 2 subscribers. So this is my active subscriber because I've already connected to it via the URAN SIM. That's why it has an IP address. So if we make use of this, also we'll also get an IP address also. So this, like I said, the project is exciting, especially the API, the GUI. For me, it's something that I think for private, it makes private 5G core deployment very easy. It's something that I believe it will really be useful for the telco industry, right? So it's a project that you can, like I said, you can consider if you are just doing a very simple 5G core deployment. So in the next video, I'll be going through some of the throughput testing, right, to see how to use the various the various mode of the XDP. So for that, you can run XDP in generic mode or in native mode. So generic mode is without any of the, you are not using the XDP features of the driver. You are using the kernel implementation, which is not performant. So it's going to be exciting. So join me in the next video and see you in the next. Thanks.